Hi there, how's it going? In this short video, I just want to share with you one of the projects that I've had on my plate the last little while, and I'm kind of moving it to the front burner here. It's to convert this book, which currently is in Kindle format. This is The Alchemy of Despair, to convert it into the print version. This is the proof of the print version that I've had for a while, and I've kind of put it to the back burner to get a couple other projects off my plate, but now I'm moving it forward. It won't take me too long to get that done, but sometimes, things aren't a priority, you move them back. But as I'm going through this, I wanted to share a couple of insights with you that might help you if you're in a state that's not so hot right at the moment. And we've all been there. It's just sometimes the nature of life and dealing with the mind. The mind, will attach to things that we've lost, or situations or relationships that didn't go so well, or that we, had to learn a lesson with. And sometimes when that happens, we can suffer, we can feel lost, and we can, have a crappy situation. And that's kind of why I wrote this book, to help you and all of us take control of our mind and take back our life, because sadness and suffering and feelings of loss can rob us of the amazing miracles and the experiences that are in our life right now. It can cause us to not appreciate the people, the circumstances, and the things that we do have, all the blessings that we do have. And it kind of makes you angry, and you're kind of like, because they steal from you. That mind, the ego mind, when it attaches to something and feels that, when it loses that, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's a home, whatever it is, the ego mind attaches so much of its identity to it that when it goes away, or if it goes away, we get in a deep, dark depression. And that is what we do not want, because that's totally baloney. It's all in our imagination. It's all in our mind. And I realize that's easier said than actually done and put into practice. But in this video, I wanted to share with you a couple of ideas that I think will be beneficial to you when you're in that state, when you're totally consumed by something that you lost, and you cannot see the blessings that are all around you, the miracles, and you're not open to the stream of amazing experiences that could flow to you and that want to flow to you. Because when you're in that state of feeling bad and your emotions are very low, your vibration's very low, we block out all the amazing things that are happening to us. And again, we've all been there. This is just one of those things about life. And the first thing I want to share with you is that, I've talked about this before on the podcast, is when you're in that state, when you're really feeling crappy and you really cannot see any sunshine, there's no rays of sunshine getting into this just totally dark clouds over you. If you can think of one thought, and it can be something in your past or something in the present moment. Typically, I like to go to the past, because we've all had great experiences. We've all had something awesome that has happened to us in the past. Find a thought, because what you're going to do is you're going to hold that thought in your consciousness for a short period of time, because we're trying to sever the link between the thoughts you are thinking, which are causing more of the dark clouds to come around and more of the feelings of sadness and suffering to be perpetuated within your consciousness. So we're trying to sever that link. And so when you find a thought of something awesome that has happened to you in the past, and think about it, you'll have to force yourself initially, because it's not going to be pleasant to go from feeling crappy, because the momentum and the forces are already gathered around that feeling right there. And that feeling is very strong in your body, right? The thoughts, emotions are thoughts in motion in the body, like Louise Hay talks about. So find that awesome thought, hold it in your consciousness for a short period of time, use willpower, use whatever you got to do to get it there. And then what will happen, you'll notice that it will start to gather its own momentum, and the way you feel will start to attract other feelings. So we've heard from Abraham Hicks and many other people in the manifestation realm that feeling is your point of attraction. Neville Goddard talks about it as well. Feeling is the secret. And that's the suggestion that I'm offering to you is, you have to change your point of feeling. And initially, it's like when you put gas in, when you step on the gas of a car, initially getting up to speed takes a lot of horsepower, a lot of energy. But once you get up to cruising speed, it's easier to maintain that speed. And the same thing happens when we're talking about feeling bad or feeling good. Getting out of a rut takes more energy, takes more willpower, takes more motivation and more mindset. You got to get out of it. But once you're up and cruising, it's easier to maintain. So that's the first thing that I want to offer you is find something that feels good. Find a thought that feels good or do something that feels good. And I talk about 17 practical ways in the book, The Alchemy of Despair, here to sever that link and get you back on track, because that's all that has to happen. Then natural momentum will take over and it will be easier over time. But getting out of that rut, out of the deepest part of the rut initially, can be a struggle. We've all been there. I've been there myself, and it's not a lot of fun. But once you get out, once you get a little momentum going, then more accumulates, then more and more and more. And you'll find if you keep that focus on the good feeling thought, over time, you'll get better and better and better at it. And one thing I also want to add is that one of the beneficial tools for doing that is to keep a list of these awesome experiences that have happened to you. Maybe they're miracles. Maybe you think they're just super great. You want to keep that list with you because especially when you're in the deepest part of the rut, that's going to be your focusing tool. And you focus your mind on an amazing experience that happened to you. And you carry that with you, carry 3x5 cards, do whatever it takes to get that initial momentum started. Once you get the momentum started, it'll be a lot easier. Now that brings me to the second point that I want to share with you about the alchemy of despair and what I talk about in my book here. And that is the best defense is always a good offense when it comes to feeling good and a lot of things in life. The best defense is always a good offense. And what I mean by that is if you can develop a practice, and I talk about some in the book, things like meditation, things like writing down things that you're grateful for every day in a journal, just focusing on them, or simply looking at the list of awesome experiences or miracles that you've had happen in your life. If you can do that on a consistent basis and develop a practice and a ritual and habit of doing that, you will keep negative emotions at bay. Again, this goes back to what I was talking about with this notion of momentum and feeling good. If you're feeling good, you're going to attract more experiences and more good feeling thoughts and ideas into your consciousness. Like attracts like, and momentum, whatever way it's going, it doesn't care. See, the momentum is indifferent. You're the driver. We're the drivers of our consciousness. And so if you can steer your consciousness in a way that makes you feel good and you're steering it towards good feeling ideas and thoughts and experiences, then more are going to accumulate around your consciousness. And eventually, and I've talked about this in a prior podcast recently when I was talking about that tool of focusing on the things that feel good. What happens is the experiences that you prior had felt bad about or that were causing you to feel bad, right? Because you were attaching negative emotions to them and identifying negatively in that way, they will cease to exist and they will really get smaller and smaller and smaller. And eventually you'll forget what you were feeling bad about. Or you'll look at it in an entirely different light because you'll move away from it. Your consciousness is moving away from it. And that's one of the great things is that we are in control. We have the ability, but initially it takes that willpower to get up and cruising out of that rut, especially if you've been spiraling downward for some period of time. It's really, I hate to be cliche and I hate to say this, but it is really all in our mind. And we are the control. We are in charge of our mind. We take charge of our thoughts and our ideas and what we impress upon our consciousness. This is why it's awesome to have vision boards and dream boards and journal and speak about the ideas and the experiences that you want to have in a positive way. And on the very far end, the high end of the spectrum, you will see the world ultimately the way that it's meant to be seen: prosperity, abundance, health and wealth and success for everyone, not only yourself, but for all people. That is at the high end of the spectrum, like a high level goal for all of us to achieve in life is to see the world as God sees it or as divine intelligence sees it and not allow any race mind to quote unquote infect your perception of the experiences that are around you. That's like the ultimate goal. When you deny every bad experience or everything that you perceive as a negative concept, that would mean sadness, suffering, poverty, those kind of things, when you deny them and know that they are the result of, like, one, a disconnection with your divinity, disconnection with God. They really don't belong in a divine universe, and the only reason they get in is because human beings feel disconnected. They create that. We create those experiences because we attach to something in the material world. We're far beyond that, right? We're all infinite beings having this human experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, like Pierre Desjardins talks about and Wayne Dyer talks about. So I hope that's been helpful. But again, ironically enough, this book is the best-selling book that I have. And initially that kind of perplexed me, and I was kind of always asking myself, well, gosh, this is all about just getting to that base point, right? This is about bringing yourself up from negative emotion up to a base point. And granted, some of these practices can move you farther and keep that momentum going. But for the most part, it's about turning sadness and suffering into happiness and joy and getting you back to the even level so that you can continue your momentum. And I sometimes wondered, well, gosh, some of the other books that I've written about state of being and mindset and using your imagination and developing that self-concept that puts you in alignment with the experiences you want to have in life, that seems a lot more exciting to me. But I have to remember that when I was in a crappy situation, had the dark clouds over me, that I just wanted to get back to base point. And that was enough of a climb. That was like the most that I could do. So I wasn't really thinking about, adding momentum and having those peak experiences. So I kind of understand more why this book resonates more with people than some of my other stuff. Another way to look at it is when you've probably heard this before, when you think about what motivates us more. Studies have shown that people are more motivated to avoid pain and to get out of pain than they are to get pleasure, which that's kind of the name of the game, right? I mean, if you're sad and suffering in your life, you can't find anything to be happy about, you want out of that, and you're more motivated to get out of that than you are necessarily to create more income or have a better relationship. People sometimes find themselves in that even Steven part where that seems like their comfort zone, right? And we all have different comfort zones. I realize that, but getting back to that point of people are more apt to do something to avoid pain than to get super awesome experiences makes a lot of sense. So I just wanted to share those insights with you. I hope that's been helpful. But as I get back into this book and do a couple of things, all I really need to do is change the font and get a couple of typos fixed, and it's ready to go. Like I said, this is the proof here, and I'm going to start working on it, and it'll be available in the Amazon Kindle store pretty shortly. Within maybe a couple weeks or so, I'm going to get that rolled up. So anyway, that's The Alchemy of Despair, 17 Practical Ways to Transform Sadness and Suffering into Happiness and Joy. And incidentally, I also provide the MP3 where I read the book. It's about an hour long because I like to listen to books on Audible or audio version more myself. So I try to include that with all of my books that I write. So anyway, hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and have a nice day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.